Hello, readers and digital people, and welcome back to GPReeds. I am your host, Grant Reeds, and today I have a very special guest. I am super excited to pick the brain of this artist, Austere, creator of Rhee's Rapture. And she also plays Rapture in the series. So we'll actually be interviewing her in Rapture's room today, which is very interesting. Again, as I discussed earlier, I kind of feel like I should look for signals in case they need help for something, because when I've interviewed someone in a series like that, I'm always like, holy crap, do I actually need to rescue them? Is this real? How much is an ARG? How much is someone screaming for help? So
I'll blink my eyes a couple times to signal.
Yeah, blink twice if you're in trouble. So glad to have you on today. Very interesting series. First of all, just holy crap, your editing is amazing. Did you take classes or something? Where did your editing start?
It's like the first thing I really edited.
Really?
I've only done this like for 10 months. So I learned everything in the past 10 months. So
do you use Vegas? I mean, those transitions and things are just so smooth and the effects are just spot on. Seriously, in some of those videos, I could not have edited it better myself. Or like, seriously, I couldn't have thought of it being edited better. It was very professional.
I don't know.
What was the initial inspiration behind Rhee's Rapture? What was the thought process behind creating it? Because I know that it started out as basically an online stalker and then kind of evolved into this crazy expanse. So was it inspired initially by online stalking? Where did it start?
Well, when I got into the videos, it's part social project. So I wanted to see what someone would do in a situation. Like the first act is about what would you do if you see something wrong. I had like experiences where I met people online and I found out things about them, and I was given the situation: do you tell someone or what do you do? Like it's very culty. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, when it's all cult and you have to be secretive and like all that. So that kind of gave some inspiration behind that, and to kind of teach people about how manipulation works and how easily it is for someone in power to manipulate others.
Oh yeah.
I had my accounts hacked once, and when I was younger, and like things that you wouldn't normally want people to see were like, you know, they posted on Facebook for all your family and everything, and like adult sites and stuff. And then to see all those eyes on you, like thousands of views, and just kind of that violation. So
right,
my inspiration towards that.
Kind of scary when you think about it.
Kind of to make people feel what that violation. Kind of like when the first video is very stark. Like you see her room, you're watching this person.
Yeah, that was very disturbing. You did a great job of communicating that.
You become a voyeur in it, and that's kind of parting to like get people to realize, you know, voyeuristic parts of social media.
What interested me the most is seeing the transition from this almost cult-like experience where he's spying on Rapture and posting videos about her, has like this community based on her, and seeing that transition into the Red game was really interesting because I didn't expect it at all. I mean, it hit me. It was like getting whiplash, but it was a good way. It subverted expectations in a very unique way. How did the Red game come into play? Was that something you had planned from the start, or is it something that kind of developed as the show progressed?
I had a lot of branches and posts, and I allowed the players to kind of choose the path of which the story would go. First, I mean, it was going to be like that, like let's torture this girl together type thing.
Yay!
Yeah, but they didn't want to torture. I'm like, what gives? There wasn't that many. Like there wasn't. I wanted like this sort of like fighting between players, like good and evil type thing. But they were like, no, live a little. But
yeah.
So I found that interesting. So they wanted to learn more about him and why he's doing this and that. So there's a lot of paths that they could have done and a lot of moral situations they were put in, and they ended up changing his perspective. So I thought that was really beautiful.
That's the thing about this series, is there's so many underlying levels of emotion and emotional growth and just these subtle changes that make these big impacts. And that, I feel like that's a really important message that you can send to people, is just by showing someone a little bit of kindness, you can inspire someone who basically is a bloodthirsty killer to become something better and bigger, seeing that it makes a difference. You can make a difference just from these little acts. And honestly, this entire series, the music videos, every little part of it, there's so many levels of emotion to it. It invokes emotion in me. I see the emotion in them. It's everywhere. Each music video, they seem to kind of guide your mind into what's going to happen next. Now, when it comes to the actual overlying message, each act, what emotional messages would you like for people to take away from it? Maybe not even the emotion it conveys, but what emotion would you like for people to take away from each of the 4 acts?
Well, for the first act, I wanted people to have a sense of feeling like a voyeur, to feel like the first, horror type thing, and to give people, like, I wanted to see what would you do in a situation if confronted. So I wanted people to take that, looking deeper about their choices. Sort of for the first act, it's like, what would you do if you're confronted with this? Mm-hmm. So thinking a little deeper about that. The second act is a little bit more deep, with like making people realize that comfort is a privilege. Like, you learn about how much he suffered, and he's trying to make you uncomfortable. He's trying to make you feel, he's trying to, convey that you can turn off your computer, you can like leave the situation and not watch the video. And some people can't do that in their life. They can't turn off things that make them uncomfortable. So I want people to realize that comfort is a privilege and we don't think about it. So the second act is sort of like that. Third act is about what makes someone evil. Like, I want people to see what makes someone evil and what hurt transpires to make people turn into a villain. What makes a villain? And the fourth act is still going, so it's part psychological, and I want people to see themselves in these questions and these answers, and see what's reflected on them too. So I think that's why the series touches a lot of people, because it's so personal in a way. Mm-hmm. The gameplay is very personal because I psychoanalyze.
I hear you there. I've done the same thing. Yeah,
and I read people well, and I use that in it. So
it's like I said during the dive. You are scary. You understand people very well in many different levels.
I think sometimes people underestimate me in some ways. Like, the first appearance you get, like the small blonde girl, wouldn't make all like get into people's minds and everything. So
I mean, it's not a bad thing. It shows the depth of your intelligence. It does.
It's so weird how my mind works. So like with the personality test I made, I designed it to categorize my players, so it'd make it easier for me to read them. And the people I based the personality types on got it. Like, it was 100%, and I was like, I'm a witch. It was like, I was blown away. Like, 100%. Like, this is crazy. Like, how they all got the personalities I categorized them as. So now that makes me. And then I've had other people outside the game take it, and it's like so accurate. I don't know why. Like, I'm like, what is this?
Like you said, you understand people. You do.
So it seems like you got an E, right? Like,
I will admit I took it twice. I got E and I got A.
E and A. Yeah. So everyone has like a base. Everyone has a base like personality, but there's a mixture. So like, I could definitely see an E. That's why on my Discord I gave you an E and A. Because I figured that was what you were.
Wow. I thought it was a mistake. You knew.
So
wow. I'm even more impressed now, to be honest.
So wow. What that shows me is like E is very like emotional, and they feel things a lot. And with A, they're like abstract artists. They can see things that normal people wouldn't see. Like I think romantics, almost like you see the beauty and melancholy type thing. And E is like you just feel things a lot and go with your emotions, and what that moves you a lot more.
Well, talking about the compositions, going deeper into the videos themselves, into the music videos specifically, a lot of the atmosphere, aside from the emotional aspects, I get a lot of struggle and cloudiness. Like the vision isn't exactly clear, but there's a strong underlying emotion that they're trying to express and can't exactly express. And this may sound odd, but it actually reminds me, not that I have been on drugs, but it reminds me of the mindset of someone who's on drugs. someone who can't exactly reach themselves because something else is inhibiting them. And it doesn't even have to be drugs. It could be a really bad emotional state. It could be depression. Was it based on chemical responses, you know, drugs, depression, things like that? The atmosphere of the music videos specifically?
I think it more so to do with like the character trying to send messages without being too, you know, he's trapped in himself and he's trying to send messages, but he can't. So it's kind of like that. So like there's a lot of metaphors in it. So surrealism almost.
Yeah.
So a bit like that.
Okay, that's probably why I picked up on that.
Yeah.
Because it felt a lot like a spirit quest. Like you'll see like a symbol of an owl, and it means you're seeking wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I picked up on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's 100%. Like there's a lot of things. Like everything is done purposely. Like even the lyrics in the music, I look for that. Sometimes I'll look for lyrics and find new music I've never heard before, and that's how I find music. Or sometimes I'm inspired by a song, but it always has to tie in with the whole thing.
That's what impacted me the most emotionally and physically when I was hearing not only the music but the versions of the songs that you chose. I really felt what they were going through on screen, and with your drawings and animations, it really brought it all together. So I guess you kind of answered a little bit of it though. Some that you hear and then you add in, some you look for specific songs to add to that specific emotion. When it comes to the writing process though, how involved is music?
I always have like a base for what the video is going to be, but I think it helps more so with editing, how the feel of it goes. Like sometimes a song will hit at a certain moment, and you know that helps with editing to get that whole impact. Like and also just looking for lyrics that go with it, with that certain scene. So it kind of all correlates together.
So I guess it's kind of both.
Yeah, it all works together, I guess, like all connects.
Organic. It's like a being. Looking a little bit more into Rhee. Rhee doesn't just feel like a character. I've seen people who've been inspired by other people. I've seen characters that have been inspired by situations, but Rhee feels like someone, like based on someone or something that happened. It definitely feels more organic than just something you made up. Is Rhee based on someone?
I think his whole like brooding demeanor and that like emo well, when I was like a teenager and 13, I had this character, and I mean I think he embodies that like edgy, like vampire-esque, will he hurt me, and it's like this danger thing. And so but the other thing is like his personality and stuff is like based off of a psychopath. You know, you well, I'm really into psychology, so I can really get into the mind of how a character would react and stuff to situations, and like I guess a little bit of me in a way when I was younger. Just that whole feeling of being detached, and so it correlates all together. Okay. But no one like particular, I think.
Just different elements of people, basically. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, with Rookbot stuff, they had to raise this AI. They taught it and stuff, and I was like, is it going to be evil, or what are they going to do? And then they turned it and they taught it, and just that whole thing is kind of beautiful too, because I have all these things made, but it's also the players that direct it where it's going to go, and I don't even really, well, I kind of know, but like I guess, but it's just interesting to see how they react and what they do to try to help the situation.
That combination of nurture and the nature you've given them. Yeah. It's like, seriously, it's like an OC child. It's interesting.
Pretty much, yeah. When I look back at everything, it feels so many layers and so many hearts are into it type thing. So I always say we beat as one heart, or we have the same beating heart. So it's like all attached with all emotions and how people feel, and getting messages from the players being like, this is really, this will stick with me forever. And I've grown so much from playing this. It's just, oh man, it's me.
Well, I guess going a little bit more into Rhee and the way his mind is wired and everything. You said he was a psychopath, but doesn't mean he's completely evil. And that's what was interesting to me, seeing that transition of being completely null and dark and just wanting to hurt people to kind of starting to care about others and feel. That's interesting to see a psychopath start to feel and start to transition and start to question what the core of themselves are and if they can become something more. And I'm really curious. Now, this doesn't specifically reflect how it happened in the show, but I'm curious what your thoughts were on his progression into that. Do you think it was more so based on the catalyst of him having a child and having that feeling and then losing it? Or was it more so his friends and the players, growing closer to the players? What was really the main piece that caused this tonal shift in his personality?
Mostly, I think the game, the players, because if they hadn't done certain things, it would be a different story. So he also like sort of journey about himself, like they unlocked things like that. Deep Dark Web store was a store that they could buy things. I had a currency thing on the Discord, so they would have to get money and then transfer it to the characters to get the items, and which would unlock the story. Like game mechanics wise, it was the players who opened him up and taught him the power of friendship.
I mean, it's a powerful thing in real life. I mean, that's how a lot of things that seem impossible get accomplished. So it's true to life, but it just sounds funny putting it that way.
I know, like, it's cheesy. It sounds very cheesy, but I wanted to give the opportunity, like this person who's never been able to open up, has issues. He's still somewhat, a little bit indifferent to human life and things like that, but he's trying. He's becoming more aware of himself and coming to terms with his past and his childhood. And he didn't think that he would, open his room to people. He thought he would be opening the room to her, but then you find out, like, relearning about himself, Rhee's Rapture kind of goes together. So it's reflected. He starts seeing, like, the bunny hood or whatever I got for Rapture is to kind of show and reflect what happened to him in the past, mirroring what is happening now to her. So they kind of like mirror each other in a way.
The title it reflects the show in so many different ways. You got Rhee's Rapture. It's like he claimed her, and then you've got his actual rapture, him escaping his past, discovering who he is, and then you've got him in Rapture situation, Rapture in Rhee situation. So it's dynamic title. Was that intentional from the beginning, or does that also kind of just grow with it?
Well, Monster was a fake, like a plant to move the story, because I didn't have players until like I think the 8th video.
Oh wow.
So I was like, well, I need someone to talk to, like, but I didn't tell some of my friends that was a plant. So they were like, who is this? This is so
That's what
gross.
I was wondering. I was like, this guy seems like the bad guy.
I feel like I should have done more with that. Like, that's probably something I wish I'd like made him pop up later, but I didn't. I was just like, I tied it in with the other character. It was like Rook, like finding Rhee and like harassing him and just like joking or whatever. You find out later, like, it's not mentioned that much, but well, when I first started this, I wanted to be like super creepy and real. Like, I didn't have a profile picture, and I thought a foreign name would make it more scary. But then, like, I don't know, I picked a Korean name, and then I made it in French. I don't know. Anyway. But,
it definitely seems suspicious.
But then I was like, oh my god. So I was trying to play this character, like an ARG, and I was on Instagram, and I'm playing, look at what I have, friends. And then I was scaring people away. I was talking, they're like, wow, this is really cool, these videos and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, she's, like, you in on it or something. And they would delete their account. So I'm like, I cannot make this look real. I cannot do this. So then I was like, okay, I need to make it more of a show, or no one's gonna watch it. They're gonna be too scared to subscribe to it.
Yeah, there's a fine line there in ARG where it's like, like, again, as I was saying, how much of this is real? How much is a game? And if you go a little too far into the realism, It's hard to
Yeah.
not only get started, but to maintain and to not get banned.
I realized that, yeah, on TikTok, I actually got banned
That's
because
insane.
my FX fingers, someone I guess thought they were real. Well, I was playing in character, so I'm pretending they're real. And I guess someone like, oh my God, they're on TikTok. And they banned it. I'm like, they're not real. And they
That
just
sucks.
didn't care. I thought it was kind of, I thought it kind of gave it a little oomph, like, woo, his TikTok got banned because of his fingers. But the Rapture part, I was looking for a name that was like objectifying. Like, I was like Candy or something like that. And then when I found Rapture, I didn't think about the definition. You think of like Christianity or whatever when it comes to mind when you think of Rapture. And it's like intense pleasure and joy. Like, how icky does that feel? Like, at first, and then
yeah, I agree.
And then as the story went, I started using more of that. It all turned out pretty good. So
I think it all turned out great, to be honest. It all felt so cohesive. I'm still sitting here in awe about the elements that just kind of developed with it, because it felt so predetermined and etched out. Just it felt very cohesive. And I guess it's just your community. Your community is that awesome. They were able to come into this world and grow with it organically, because none of it feels out of place. None of it feels thrown in. It all feels so incredibly well put together. And Oculus is so creepy, and it inspired me to look into some of these mythos that I've been wanting to look into. Just I've been putting it off. And I don't know if I think I have this on the list, but I'll get into this in a little bit. But it got me curious about the deities or the demons or incarnations of the senses. Was there any inspiration as far as that goes in Rhee's Rapture, or was Oculus just its own thing?
Oculus was pretty much his own thing. Just making a demon, an actual eyeball representing these like voyeurism and like Big Brother type thing, like people watching you and controlling you and stuff like that. So it's sort of like his own thing. The other demons were based on actual demons in mythology.
Okay.
So like in Wikipedia then. So I took that on basis. But Alba, she has sort of like with the mouth and stuff, and she's like the white card. So she's like truth and stuff. So I try to give little hints and metaphorical things with these cards too.
I saw her and I saw the mouth. I was like, okay. So we've got the ability to taste and devour. So stomach. We've got the eyes. I'm like, is there this pantheon, I guess you would say?
Loosely, I would think. Like, all senses, like eye, seeing, and feeling and stuff like that. Because the whole series is all about like feeling things and seeing things in a different way. So sort of, in a loose way.
Going into the obsession and watching people and that realm of things, I'm curious on your take on the streaming craze, the current situation with humanity where we're always watching each other, observing each other, basically living other lives by proxy. And I'm curious why you think that is the case in this modern age, since we're supposed to be more connected than ever.
I think because of the voyeuristic nature of, social media, is like you, and the loneliness by yourself. You watch these people and you start thinking that they're your friend, because in psychology and stuff like that, people can use terms like I love you and stuff. And it's like very, it's generic all around. But some people who watch things and like more vulnerable or like maybe mentally unstable will take these literally. And so they start getting that almost like drug effect from like endorphins, So every time they see the person, they feel, less alone. And so that kind of just becomes a circle in itself. And that's how cults happen. The person makes the other one feel special, and then they just do anything to get that feeling. So I think having that with these like influencers and everything causes that sort of stalking mentality sometimes.
Yeah. The whole world's kind of leaning towards stalker now.
The whole culture thing for me is like unique and interesting. It kind of has something to do with the series too, like showing how easy it is to manipulate people in that regard. Like my friends I hate that term, to be honest. because it's like, you don't know me, like don't call me my friend. So at first when I started making speak to people, I'd make it like you're my like, I thought it was like super obvious. After the series ends, there's like some things I'll talk about and tell them, you know, why this was there, and then, you know, they'll be like, oh.
How long have you been drawing, actually? Because I found out a lot of the artwork was from you, and a lot of it is really, really good.
Since I was a child. So actually,
I can tell.
Before doing this, I made a children's book. So it's kind of funny that I just was like, let's do the opposite. Twinkie the Llama, Into the Woods. So.
Okay. I'm going to look it up. I'm sure there's a Kindle version as well. I'll probably download that.
Not yet. I'm still lazy about it.
After Rhee's Rapture is over, are you going to do another web series, take a different direction? What are you thinking for the future?
So after this series, I'm thinking after the gameplay ends, I think I'll go back and maybe go into things that they never unlocked, or a prequel about his past, and, you know, off and on update this series, so there'll be a little bit more content when it comes to videos and learning about stuff that wasn't brought up. Because when you're doing the gameplay and doing videos on like a time restraint, because all of this has been done in like 10 months.
Yeah, so, which is incredible in and of itself.
Making the videos and like making it like, and doing the gameplay, and so like I'm doing like the, you know, the main core of his story and everything. So I want to go back and maybe flesh it out a little bit more, or do some unfiction depending on the characters who survive. Just kidding.
All two of them, no.
But also I would like to, like, I don't know, I have a short sci-fi horror film I want to do for like Nightmind's entry, if he has one, in October. From
the story to the art to the transitions to the editing, the music, the musical choice, the musical implementation, the effects, just everything. Everything is just so well done. Just where have you been? I'm surprised you're not a big name. I really am. I say that more often than I should, but I really mean that with you. I'm just, why aren't you a big name? Because you just have so many talents and so many different things.
It's funny, it's because this is actually the first time I've like done something like showing all my stuff like this. Like before, I actually, my internet life like has only really been 4 years. Oh, wow. And like 2 of them was like, I used to do investigations, and I used to like predator like hunt. Like I would like dress as a child and like take down certain people. Like I got one person arrested. Yeah, I was like so I took a lot of that researching and that profiling and everything, and I put it into this in a way.
What a life, for real. It's hard to wrap my head around all of it.
It's been interesting. But this whole thing is 10 months of like learning about more about effects and learning about actual like editing and filming and all that. It's pretty much new to me.
I can't believe you just started. I really can't. Some of those music videos are seriously, they're professional, completely professional. And you saying you've been editing for 10 months is just like, holy crap. I don't want to believe you. I mean, I do, but I don't want to. That's incredible. It really is. You have a knack for it.
Like the first time I did a video was for something like I didn't really want to do. I think, fine, I'll make this video. But then people got such a response from it emotionally. And I was like, well, maybe I'm somewhat good at this for no reason.
Well, I guess this kind of goes along with it. So what are your aspirations for the future? Not just creatively, but like in general? With your communication skills, the ability to read people, with all your artistic talents, just everything. I mean, the door is pretty much open to anything that I can think of. I mean, aside from things where you'd have to have certain degrees to do those things. But what are you thinking for the future in general?
I think that's why I started doing social media and stuff like that, because, I mean, otherwise people don't really check what you can do because they look at like a paper or a degree that you have. Like, why should I have to go to school when I already know how to do all this? You know, like,
sure.
So this was one way of like showcasing what I can do and like having an opportunity to probably do things in the future without having to go to school. Like, it's expensive, and I'm like, so I'm hoping like maybe someone will see my project and see my capabilities and want to work with me with something, because I'd love to make something like this into a career.
Well, you've got what it takes. It's really all about just finding that first open door and just getting your foot out there. When you are gone, I know it sounds kind of bleak, but it's not. It comes from a place of your personal journey. When you're gone, how do you want to be remembered? And also, how do you want what you have done to be remembered?
I really want to show people that you don't need much to make things. You don't need a degree or sophisticated cameras or anything like that. You just need to have a drive, a vision, and a passion, and creative to make something and inspire people. So I hope when I'm gone, things that I've done will inspire others to create. Actually, I have a really beautiful story.
Go ahead.
It's about my book. So I put more into the art than I think normal children's books do. And I have a friend who's a teacher, and she had a student, and he wasn't very good at math, and he wasn't very good at like writing. And she's like, at least one of my students are good at one or the other. And she told me that he would take my book and he would try to draw the pictures almost every day. And she's like, maybe he's an artist.
Yeah, you can see that in real time, how what you leave behind will influence the future.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Changed my life. So if I could do that to that kid, just
Ooh.
I know, isn't so like touching? Like,
It's profound, yeah. It's very touching.
It's basically how you become immortal. You live, you create things, and you inspire, and you live on other people. Like a lot of artists who died and stuff, their things live on other people.
Yeah.
So that's immortality, in my opinion.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of my core inspirations and what really allowed me to fall in love with art was classic literature, classic art, my old family recipes. I mean, it's all stuff from people who have passed. So you definitely leave a mark, especially when you bring something into the world that makes people feel, it's human. When you bring something human into this world, and I believe you've done this with this series. Despite all the different outlooks on it, despite all the different opinions, as long as this series is up, I know that it will inspire people to do things. Thank you again so much for taking the time out to talk with me today. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed picking into your brain, and you're very, like I said, you're very scary, but you're very interesting. So I am absolutely fascinated in what else you can do, and I can't wait to see you get there. I know you will. And I will see you all again. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for all you do. I will have the links to Austere's works below. Also, the channel, the books, everything. Keep your eyes wide open and never stop reading. See you all. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my patrons and channel members. Thanks to you, I'm able to do what I love. All proceeds go back towards the channel for props, for costumes, and for any trips we take or any games we play. CNK114, Investigator Zeus, Dobby's Music, Jerry Mullins, Free Spirit Katie, Poof Poof, MC Darfer, Vexus, Agnieszka Goronska, Granny Monster, and Nightmare Luna. Really, thank you all so much for allowing me to do what I love to do.